This video is going to be part of my series for the family of medium tactical vehicles, or the FMTV, and the Central Tire Inflation System series. And going to go over the entire wheel valve assembly and how to rebuild it, what you need, and then some of the different variations that kind of come with this that you may find on your truck, or if you buy these parts that may come to be. If you're going to be rebuilding yours, Will at LMTV Parts, it doesn't come in this bag specifically. This is how I stored it. He sells a rebuild kit for the wheel valve itself. Link in the description. He sells them on eBay. That's the best place to get them. Basically comes with everything you need to rebuild the wheel valve. I've used a whole bunch of them. And then I put together a kit that is everything you need for the O-rings. That's from the wheel valve out all the way to the two seals on the banjo bolt that attach it to the stud coming off of the hub on your wheel. So if you're going to do it, you might as well go and replace all of that stuff, so you really only need to do it once. So the first thing you probably noticed looking at this is this looks all wet. Highly recommend before you do this, let it soak for a while with something like PB Blaster on all four of these bolts. For the purposes of this video, I'm using one that doesn't appear to be that old and that corroded, with the hopes that it's not going to fight me that bad, so I can get through the instruction of showing you actually how to rebuild it and not have to fight taking these four off. These can get really nasty and break off. That's probably the worst part about doing this. So I'm hoping that they're not going to. If they do start to fight you coming off, I've actually broken four of these. They're all the ones that are on my truck now. You got to just heat them up a little bit at a time and work them off and spray a little bit of that lubricant. But as far as tools, that's usually something that I go over sooner. 2 adjustable wrenches will probably get you by, and then I have one of these multi-screwdrivers that you can kind of use that will work with a 5/16 nut driver, and then the Phillips for the little screw at the end here, which you don't even actually really need to take off, but I do it anyway. A little tool to just help get some of the O-rings and maybe scrape some crud off if you got it in there. And then something as far as like an O-ring lubricant is very helpful. If you don't by chance have something, I got a link down below for that too. Start by working these off. Wow, I got really lucky. None of these were jammed on at all. I don't know if just soaking the PB Blaster on there or just because this one wasn't corroded, but as you start working the last one off, there's a spring in here. So hold your finger down while you're taking this last one off. And yeah, wow. So look at how nasty it is on the inside here. This is the reason why you could clean this up if you want, but wow, look at this one. I'm surprised this came off as easy as it did with how disgusting it is in here. But the side that you see at first actually really does not, none of this in here ever goes into the air system of your truck. It's the other side of this diaphragm. So then slowly work this away. Dump this crud out. Ooh, wow, look at the inside of this one. This one's terrible. Look at all that shit in there. If you tried to just put this one on a truck, it would immediately clog up. Even though this was not stuck on, look at all that crap in there. If you tried to put this in, it would have sucked all this right into the little filter and stuff that's in here you're going to see later on. So this is probably the only piece that I would say is savable. This one was missing a core in here. Maybe that's the reason why there's just a real lot of air. In my opinion, if this little stem piece right here is not damaged in any way, I would go ahead and just keep the one that's in there, because this is probably one of the most vulnerable pieces. Like if you're off-roading, it could get sheared off. That way you can keep the one in the rebuild kit as a spare. And in my case, because there's no core in there, I'll take the core piece out and put it in there, which means I'm going to need a core tool now, which is not hard to use. You can use needle nose pliers, but I have a core tool. So now I'll work on getting the hoses off. I'll take the banjo bolt off. And you could see already all the freaking rubber is totally deteriorated on these seal washers. Now, some of the variations you might see at this point are Dana branded wheel valves and Dana Spicer is the same. Eaton. Older ones are Eaton, and some of them have, like this one has two flats right here casted into it to help when you want to remove. It's got flats over here too for when you want to remove it. The older Eaton ones didn't. But what I've done on the older Eaton ones is this is a flat piece. You can kind of either put a wrench or put it in your vise, but be careful. This is only like aluminum. Put it in your vise and then you can put your wrench on there to get these pieces off. So let's see if these have been over tightened on there. I'm trying to do this without putting it in the vise. Well, my vise is a little bit outside the camera setup, but I'm gonna put it in the vise and break that free. Okay, I broke both sides free. Okay, I'm gonna put the wheel valve to the side for a minute, and I'm gonna talk about the long hose here, some of the variations. So there's two different variations. Well, I guess you could say four different variations that it's possible you might see. First type of variation is if you're gonna have one with a swivel fitting, and the swivel fitting is gonna be up here. So you can see as I'm holding this, and this is gonna be on the later models, they realized, the hydraulic fitting it's actually swivels to make it easier for the hose to be able to move around when you're trying to adjust it and change a wheel. Some of the older ones are fixed and it's just crimped, and then all the flex needs to be done within the hose, which can cause some problems. The other variation is what the hose is actually finished. This has got some paint on it, so it's a little hard to tell. All these are gonna have some sort of paint unless they were brand new. But this has got more of like a rubbered textured finish, and then underneath of it is like a stainless steel braiding. The older style, I don't even know what you call it. It kind of looks like a clothish, but it's not. I guess it would be like an older style hydraulic line type fitting. And then this has just got layers and layers of paint. This is one off of my truck when I was troubleshooting the CTIS. And this was one of my problems that was on there. And see, I have it marked no good. This does not have a swivel fitting. You either flexed the hose or you left this loose and the O-ring provided the seal. Now, part of the problem with that is, and what ended up being the problem with this hose and why it's no good, is see this kink that formed here? is instead of the swivel, it was getting torqued really bad. And then also it got bent at some point like this, and it causes a kink in the actual stainless part that's underneath. And that's going to cause a problem with airflow. Air will still flow through the kink, but one of the most important things with this system is even airflow. So in theory, if every single one of your hoses had this same kink in it, you would be okay. But you don't want that kink in there. It's going to cause a problem. Anyway, so that's the variations on the long hose. And on the short hose, same thing I had talked about with the finish on the hose here, where you're going to see some of the differences is on the end here. This is called a kneeling valve. And you would find these, you're supposed to find these on front wheels. And what they were used for was to bring the air way, way down to fit in the back of airplanes. Trash, this is going to come off. This is not going to go back onto this wheel. I mean, this valve may function, but we don't want these. The other option that you may see is this 90-degree fitting. The adapter is still threaded onto this, but the 90-degree fitting, this is more what you want because there's less of a chance of any leak. And then that goes on there. Then the third one, which is the newest style that they've moved over to, is this style where there is no adapter, it's just a 90-degree. Then this has a swivel and this threads into the serrator. Now this one's no good. These actually have a swivel on the end that's coming out of the wheel valve too. So it's got flex on both ends. Now, I don't know if this type of hose ever got a swivel fitting on this end. This one, every single one I've seen has a swivel on both ends to give you that flex. So there's your variations. All right, so the last thing that we got before cleaning up and stuff for disassembly is inside the small hose end of the wheel valve is a little filter. This is actually a spot that can cause a lot of problem because this is designed to catch a lot of the crap coming out of your wheel. Say if you had a lot of rust or something in your wheel and you cycle your CTIS a lot, this will catch it from getting into the valve and then further down into the CTIS. But in my experience, trying to get these out and not just totally destroy them is like impossible. But that's what it looks like. Now the process pretty much starts of doing a little bit more of an inspection and looking for obstructions, any really bad pitting that's going to basically make it to the point where this is not going to be able to be used. One spot I know to look at, and I don't know how well I'm going to be able to show you in this, but very common for these long hoses, if they have not been installed on a truck properly, is right in here. I can actually see this is all down in my area of Texas and I think the Carolinas and stuff like that. We get a lot of mud daubers, and they're like these wasp looking things that just find every darn little crevice and a spot to find, and they put these little mud nests, and they love to clog things up. So they'll climb inside this little hole and they'll fill this whole spot with like a little muddy nest. They'll hide out in it for a couple days and then they leave. And you might bang it out and think it's good, but they got a whole crap load of mud and dirt in this spot. Try to pick it out and just break it all free. There we go, look at that. There's actually a little piece of an old one or something in there. But yeah, this is still obstructed because I can't blow air through it. There's no sense in keeping this thing recording while I fix this obstruction. I'm gonna work on making sure this hose is clear, this hose is clear, and then I'm gonna spend some time, I'm gonna spray some of the PB on this, let it soak in, and then gently scrape away the stuff because this is a steel pick and that's aluminum. I have some brushes. Just clean this whole thing up. And then once I get everything cleaned up to satisfactory, start reassembling it. All right, this little tool came in handy. I forgot I had bought a pack of these. I'll put a link down in the description for them. This was more crap I got when I blew out that hose. I just hooked up to my air compressor and used one of these type of fittings and blew it out like that. And all the crap came out after spraying something in there to loosen it up. You can see the detail in here. So a lot of that white powder, probably what that was is the corrosion of the aluminum starting to break down, because you could see how pitted this is. And the pitting down in here is what it is, but the one spot that's very questionable to me on this, there's a little bit left there, so I'm gonna put it together and hope that it works, is on this ledge, because that needs to be there for it to seat and seal with the little diaphragm that goes in here. But we cleaned up all the loose crap in there as best could. This like little stainless seat, get that as clean and smooth as you can, because that's where the pressure actually seals down against when you're putting it together. So clean up all the threads and everything like that the best you can. Now we'll start putting together the wheel valve. So I'll dump out all the parts. Here's a little valve stem piece that I said you're better off just saving as an extra. And I have to take this core out because for whatever reason, this one was missing one. Put some of these other pieces to the side and we'll start with the actual diaphragm and stuff. Take out a little bit of the lube. It's not going to hurt anything here. A little bit of it around where it seats, and then same thing on the actual diaphragm. And the side that goes down is going to be the side with the lip, and then the side with the little circle in the middle. And then lubricate the side with the little circle in the middle too. And just place it in there. And while you got it like this, swipe a little bit around the little nipple and stuff in the middle and around the whole back side of it. It's not going to hurt. Then while your finger's dirty, the 4 new screws, real light coating on the threads as well. If you really wanted to, you could use Never Sees, but I don't know how well that's actually going to work, because what the real problem is, the reason why these get stuck is because you have a steel screw in aluminum and it starts to fight itself. But anyway, you wipe a little bit on the metal piece, then the metal piece kind of fits in the way it's supposed to on top of that. Then it doesn't really matter which way this goes. I think the Dana is supposed to face down. Seeing if you're paying attention, you got to put the spring in there. Make sure that spring is in the middle. And then push down. You'll want to make sure your threaded holes are clear. I knew mine were. I checked that during the little fast forward. Okay, tighten them in a crisscross pattern, and they just need to be snug. That pretty much goes for everything on this wheel valve assembly. Nothing needs to be super tight. Then I still have a little bit of O-ring lube. This screw. And if you're wondering what this screw is for on the front, if your wheel valve is stuck open when the system is supposed to be closed and your wheel is deflating, you can undo this screw and take something, don't take something sharp and puncture it, but you can use, say, like a small Allen key or something that fits in that hole after you take the screw off and push the wheel valve closed. That's the reason why that metal reinforcement is in there, so you can push it closed. But anyway, so that's the wheel valve portion. All right, next up here, I'm gonna dump out my O-ring seal kit here that I accidentally sprayed a whole bunch of PB Blaster on, and just kind of lay out the O-rings because there was no way for me to really label these. Kind of just start working from what would be the valve stem up. So this threads onto the valve stem. There's an O-ring in here. This is probably the most annoying one to get in and out. I think putting O-ring lubricant on all the O-rings is going to help for longevity. All right, so I got all the new O-rings and stuff on. I didn't tighten everything up real tight over here on the adapter and stuff like that. You can see the reason why it's a good idea to do it is one of these broke. One of them started cracking and stuff real bad, and a lot of them over time they get real like ovalized and stuff like that. So like this one's real cracked. Could be a point where they end up leaking, especially once they get installed and taken off a couple of times. And in that kit, they're the proper O-rings that we'll put up in case oil gets into the system and stuff like that. They're not just the real low-end cheap O-rings. All right, so the last step's to put it all back together and make it one solid assembly. This filter, and then this round filter, doesn't fit in here. And then it's too loose to really be on this side. So I'm not really sure what the thought process was with this being in the kit. And you can source these from Dana Spicer, but they're like $15 a piece. I mean, if you manage to get yours out without damaging it and it's not super clogged up, this one is nasty. I think a lot of people are just putting them together without putting this back in there. I think mine weren't that dirty when I redid them on my truck, but I would not have a problem putting it together. So this one's going to get put together without it. So get them hand tight. And then I ended up needing to find my big wrench here. And like I said, with putting the cover, these don't need to be super tight, especially if you do not have a hose that has the swivel fitting, because you need it to be able to move. First thing you're going to want to tighten up is the adapter onto the 90. And then you don't really want this right here to be that tight, because when you go to install this on your truck, this is going to come off. You're going to put this on, put this back together this way, and then tighten it down, holding this and tightening that up. Unless you want to do something screwy, like turn the whole thing, wouldn't recommend that. For storage purposes, I'm going to snug this a little bit so that it doesn't by chance come off. And that is how you rebuild the wheel valve. And what you can do to test it is quickly hook it back up to your wheel. You don't even need to fasten this stuff down. And then stack up some extra seal washers and get a 5/8 18 nut. If I'm remembering that incorrectly, I'm gonna put a little note over myself. So that way you can tighten this down and seal it. and then use your air compressor or whatever and press against this as hard as you can and hold it and start to inflate. And what you should hear is the wheel valve click open. You should hear the tire, start inflating, and then pull away from this really quick, and you should hear the wheel valve snap back closed, and then you should have absolutely no air coming out over here. And you could take something like a rubber glove or a balloon or something like that and put it over it and hold it really tight. And if it starts to inflate at all, you know that your wheel valve is still leaking. And then you can also just take some regular soapy water at all your other fittings and spray them to see if there's any leaks coming out anywhere on there. I'm gonna cover that a little bit more in depth when I start making the troubleshooting videos for the CTIS. Again, links in the description to sources for some of the parts and not so common tools and things like that for doing this. Not the most exciting video, but I just wanted to go completely through how to do this. And one thing I'm gonna talk about here again at the end is if these are being stubborn, do not force them. They break very easy. Be cautious, use a little bit of heat and penetrating oil and unscrew it out till it gets a little bit of tension. If you can get two on one side to come out a little bit, tap it and see if it starts to separate a little bit and get the penetrating oil in there. Then work it back down, work it back up, a little bit of heat, because what you got to be careful of if you put too much heat is it's going to start to melt that diaphragm in there. Now, if you have the full rebuild kit, that's not that big of a deal, but it's going to be a challenge to clean it up because then you're going to have a whole bunch of melted rubber and stuff in there. And aluminum starts to fracture and stuff like that too, because I had some completely break, and the issue you run into once you break it is getting that broken stud out of there, and then aluminum is soft, and you'll probably just end up messing up the whole wheel valve. And you can, if you do get it out, then you got to drill it and tap it, and then you'd probably just end up needing to drill it and tap it all the way through. It's not fun. So just taking your time and doing this and hopefully getting it off without breaking it. And if it does break, hopefully it just breaks off the head so you get some exposed and you could get it out. But anyway, hopefully you found this helpful. I'm gonna be doing more videos on the central tire inflation system for the FMTV like I've been promising for a long time. Just, it's a lot to digest and then figure out how to put it into a video, and I have been thinking about it for a while. I just want to make sure it's right. I don't want to put crap out there. So I try to make things decent. They might not be exciting. I try to make things decent. And then I start doing stuff like this where I keep talking. So that's it. Thanks for watching.